Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 3. It's Reality Check with your girl Davina 2.0. Let's get it started. So in episode 2, I told you guys that I had brain surgery. The name of this brain surgery was called craniectomy. If you are a Google doctor, please feel free to Google it for your own understanding. But for the sake of this episode, I'm going to give you my explanation, my definition of a craniectomy. A craniectomy is when the doctor removes the skull to relieve pressure from the head. Upon having my stroke, they realized that my brain was swollen. Because my brain was swollen, they needed to remove the skull to relieve pressure. Upon removing that skull, that gave my head space to swell and decompress. So a craniectomy is when a surgeon removes the skull and gives the head time to relieve the pressure. So currently the cause of my stroke from a medical standpoint is undetermined. When you think of a person who has a stroke, some of the causes can be obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes. As you can see, I'm not obese. I wasn't obese prior to my stroke. I don't have high blood pressure, and I don't have diabetes. Another cause of stroke can be family history of strokes. My mother on my father's side of the family has suffered from a stroke ever. I was the first. And another cause of stroke can be excessive drinking or smoking. Prior to my stroke, yes, I did drink, but it wasn't excessively. I drank socially, and I've never smoked. So when you look at it from a medical standpoint, I didn't fit the lineup of a person to have a stroke. I was healthy, I was perfectly healthy, and I had a stroke. But in my opinion, what caused my stroke was God. He wanted my attention and he woke me up. He needed me to face reality, and how did he do it? He allowed me to have a stroke. And that is my personal reason for why I had a stroke. But medically, the cause of my stroke is undetermined. Upon waking up from having my stroke, the reaction of finding out that I had a stroke was very numb. I mentioned that in episode 2. I really didn't understand the true effects that the stroke would have on me. In my brain, I woke up, I'm alert, I see my mom, I see my dad, I see my family, and I'm like, okay, I'm okay. And about maybe a day, the end of tonight, I'll be going home. I'm out. But that's not what happened. So my reaction was numb. I was ignorant. I really didn't know what just happened to me. One of the main deficits that I faced after having my stroke was left side paralysis. That basically means everything on my left side was numb. I couldn't move my arms freely, my left arm freely. I couldn't move my left leg freely. Another deficit was short-term memory loss. Because my left side, I had left side paralysis, I wasn't able to write because I'm left-handed. I wasn't able to tie my shoes. I wasn't able to walk what you would call normal. That left side paralysis affected a lot of my daily activities. The daily things that I could do, I couldn't do. I couldn't write. And honestly, I wasn't speaking the way I'm speaking now. I had to learn how to read again. I had to learn how to comprehend again. So I want to say the most hurtful deficit that I'm still dealing with today is honestly my short-term memory loss. I don't remember things short-term. You can tell me something, and within 5 minutes, I'll forget I said it, and I'll forget what you said. And that's been very hard for me, because that reminds me over and over again that I had a stroke. That reminds me over and over again that there's something more I have to work on. In my house, currently, I have post-its up to give me reminders, to remind me to turn my AC off, to remind me to turn the lights off, to remind me to set the alarm. My parents are always reminding me of certain things. And of course, I'm a grown-up, so my brain is like, oh my God, you're aggravating me, but they're just making sure I'm okay. So my short-term memory loss would be the hardest thing that I still deal with. I also still have problems with my balance, but overall, the most difficult is my short-term memory loss. Sometimes it's embarrassing. Sometimes I'm humiliated. Sometimes I'm annoyed by it. So that's the most difficult. retrospectively, I would expect to be, the people I would expect to be at the hospital would be my mother, my father, my stepfather, because my mother is married, my boyfriend, my daughter, my aunt, my uncle, my sisters, my cousins, my immediate family. That's who I expect to be there. But in reality, when I woke up, my mother was there, my stepfather was there, my uncle was there, my sisters were there, my daughter and my aunt was not there. As mentioned in episode 2, they decided as a family to have my daughter go to the wedding to keep her mind off what was really going on. And I'm not sad about that. I'm not hurt about that at all. I think that was a good decision. But in reality, my biological father was not there when I woke up. And my boyfriend was not there when I woke up. If you would have asked me this a year ago, it would be more painful. But as of now, I moved past that. I have forgiven them. And I'm okay with that. They weren't there, and that's okay. They did eventually come, but again, they weren't there when I woke up. And it's no hard feelings. I'm okay with that. And it's crazy because my father and I, we've never been close. He's never been actively in my life. So why would I expect him to be there? In my brain, life or death, no matter if you're there or not, I would think you'll be there because your daughter's having a stroke, but he wasn't. And like I said, there's no hard feelings. I have forgave him, and I moved on. So after facing so many realities and so many hard points in my life after the stroke, I coped with therapy and I coped with God. My faith helped me to cope. Prior to my stroke, my faith was poor. I didn't believe. I didn't understand the power of prayer, and I didn't understand that there is this higher power that is living amongst us that ensures things are happening. I didn't understand that. So how did I cope? I cope with prayer. I prayed morning, I prayed in the afternoon, I prayed at night. I prayed throughout the day. Throughout the day, I'm praying. I'm like, okay, God, I can get through this. I can get through this. I prayed. I read the Bible prior to that. Honestly, I didn't read the Bible, but God wanted my attention. He got it because I started reading the Bible. I was praying. And again, I went to therapy. I'm not afraid to say that. I know in the Black community, we shun away from therapy, or we look down upon it like, oh, you go to therapy, you're crazy. It doesn't mean that. I needed to cope. And because I believe that God lives through us, I believe that God lived through my therapist and helped me to face reality and understand what was going on. So how did I cope? Therapy, God, prayer. And one of the biggest ways I coped with everything that was going on was my daughter. The thought of my daughter kept me pushing every single day. The thought of my daughter kept me holding on every single day. The thought of my daughter gave me faith to believe that there is something more that God needs me to do. So that's how I coped. Special thanks. I have to give a special thanks to the medical team at North Shore Hospital. The medical team at North Shore Hospital, they saved my life. I know in Miami we make jokes and we call North Shore Killer Shore, but from now on, for the sake of me, I want you to call North Shore Saving Shore. When someone talks about North Shore, say, hey, I know this one girl, her life was saved because of North Shore. And that one girl is me. Special thanks to the neuro team. They saved my life. Special thanks to my neurosurgeon, Dr. Valerio, who made a decision to do a craniectomy. That brain surgery saved my life. I was terrified, but it saved my life. And I'm here today telling my story because of him. Because of them, the entire medical team. I also have to give a special thanks to my friend. I won't say her name, but she knows who she is. She had a very important task, a very important decision to make. I begged her and I cried, please take me home. Please take me home. I want to take a nap. Just let me take a nap. But something told her, God told her, take her to her mother. That one decision changed everything. And because of her, I'm here today. So special thanks to my friend who made a decision to take me to my mother. And a special thanks to my other friend who was at the house at the time everything was happening, because she was the communicator. She was the person who kind of navigated all of the communication lines from my mother, from my trainer, from my friend to get me at that house at that certain time. Remember, I'm racing a time clock. After a stroke, you're racing a time clock. And because of her, because of my other friend, because of that medical team, because of my mother, I'm here today. So special thanks to all of them. Special thanks to anyone who has prayed for me that I didn't know about. Special thanks to you too. So now it's time for fan questions. I have 3 questions, and all of the questions, they want to remain anonymous. The first question is, how long did it take for you to walk? If you're watching this and you suffered a stroke, you know they try to get you out of bed to walk immediately. And I want to say within the first 48 hours, they got me out of bed with a walker, and they tried to get me to walk. Why do they do that? Because your brain is like a computer. It's a memory bank. Whatever you do, your brain remembers. It's like a daily log of what you do. So they wanted to get me out of bed so my brain can remember the activity of walking. If you go onto my website and you go to the About Me page and you scroll all the way down, you'll see a video of me walking for the first time. I have a walker, and as I'm walking, I'm strolling. My left leg is dragging because I couldn't walk properly. So it took me about 40 hours to get out of bed and actually walk with the pimp stroll. But the norm of walking, what you guys would call normal, took about 2 to 3 months with exercise, therapy, and practicing. Again, my therapy to this day is, my balance until this day is still off. But if you guys see me now, outside looking in, I can run. I can walk from a normal standpoint. Question 2. How long were you in the hospital? That's a tough question. I was in the actual hospital for about a month and a half. I had to wait for a helmet to be delivered to the hospital. I needed a special helmet because my skull was missing. I had a craniectomy, so I had a soft spot. And without my skull, I wasn't able to protect my brain. So I had to wear a helmet to protect my brain. After the helmet was delivered to the hospital, they immediately transported me to rehab. And I was in rehab for about another 2 to 3 months. So all in all, I would say 3 to 4 months I was in the hospital. No breaks, no going home, none of that. I didn't have that. I went from hospital to rehab, and I was there nonstop, recovering, trying to get myself back right. The last question is, I know you were in the hospital for a long time. What helped you get through those hard times? That's actually a very hard question to answer because I had some dark, dark days in the hospital. And what helped me get through it? Prayer, my faith, my daughter, and my family. My family was amazing. They were the epitome of amazing. I didn't spend 1 minute alone in the hospital, not one. They had a rotating schedule. I was never alone. If my mother stepped out, my stepfather was there. If my stepfather stepped out, my sister was there. If my sister had to step out, my uncle was there. My cousins were there. My sisters, my cousins, my aunt, my uncle, my stepdad, my mother, they were there around the clock. I did not spend a minute alone in the hospital. Remember, I told you guys I couldn't bathe myself, I couldn't brush my teeth, I couldn't feed myself. But nurses didn't have to do it. My mother, my sisters, my uncle, my cousins, they did it. Because I was never alone in the hospital. They helped me bathe, they helped me brush my teeth, they fed me. My cousin would go get me smoothies when I had my cravings. He would get me a smoothie because I love smoothies. He would bring me a smoothie for Smoothie King. My mother would leave the hospital to cook me a meal because I didn't like hospital food. I'm a very picky eater. She would cook me a meal and come back to the hospital with food for me to eat. My aunt would do the same thing. She would go home. Her house is even further than my mother from the hospital. She would go home, cook me a meal, come back with Tupperware so I could eat dinner or lunch or breakfast. So I didn't have to eat their food. So my family really helped me get through it. They made the hospital feel like home. We played games, we played Uno, we played cards, we played Taboo, we played Category. I don't know if you know that game. We played different games. We had great conversations, we laughed. We cried together. They made the hospital feel like home. So what helped me get through it? My family. My family, God, faith, and my daughter. My daughter came there every day after school. She studied there. She allowed me to help her with homework. Mind you, a lot of that stuff I couldn't do. She was in 3rd grade, and a lot of it I struggled with. But she allowed me to help her study. Helping her study helped me study. So my family, that's what helped me get through it. Okay, moving on. Last question. What do I want you guys to get from this episode? Two things. One, don't take anything for granted. On August 3rd, 2019, I woke up thinking that I'll be going to the gym and running all my errands like a normal day. But on August 3rd, my life completely changed. I lost everything that I ever thought I worked hard for. A house didn't matter. A car didn't matter. None of that mattered because I didn't have it. Degrees didn't matter. It was gone. It was there, but it didn't help me at that moment. I lost it all. I couldn't write. I couldn't tie my shoes. I couldn't walk normal. I couldn't move my arms freely. I wasn't able to run and pick up my daughter and give her a hug. All those things were gone. So the things that you take for granted, please don't take it for granted. The things that you say you complain about, there's people like me, my stroke survivor friends, who prayed and begged for the opportunity to have the things that you guys have. So please never, ever take things for granted. And remember that time is precious. We're on borrowed time. We don't know how long we're gonna be here. So the last thing I want you to remember is love on those who love on you. If they don't love on you, you let them go. There's no hate in your heart, no animosity, you let them go. You love on people who love on you. Someone once told me, you grow where you sow. So if I sow my seeds in love, I will blossom in love. But if I sow my seeds in people who don't love me, I won't grow. I stay stagnant. So love on those who love on you. If they don't love on you, you let them go. There's no argument. There's no fussing. You let them go. I wish you the best and you move on. If I dwelled on those who were not there for me, I would not have been able to give my love to those who did love on me. So two things. Don't take things for granted and love on those who love on you. In episode 4, I plan to speak candidly about my recovery. You look at me and you're like, okay, she looks good. She looks fine. She looks normal. But no, this was a process. This was a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears that I put into working on myself and recovering. So in episode 4, I plan on talking about my recovery candidly. And I want to speak openly about my mental health. I went through a lot of depressive states. I shut a lot of people out. I had a lot of suicidal thoughts. I thought about killing myself several times, but I pushed through. So in episode 4, I want to speak candidly about mental health. So if you know anyone who's dealing with any mental health issues, please send my link to them so they can tune in to episode 4. Episode 4, we're going to speak candidly about my mental health and my recovery. How can you guys reach me? I have several avenues or ways that you can reach me. I have a website, Instagram, Facebook, and you can email me. My website is itsrealitycheckpodcast.com. My Facebook is @itstherealitycheckpodcast. My email is itstherealitycheckpodcast@gmail.com. My Instagram is davina_2two.0. If I'm saying this too fast, because sometimes I blabber on, you will see all of these things at the bottom of the screen. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel so you do not miss not one video. So until next time, guys, be well. I love you. Embrace reality. And remember, fantasy is what they want, but reality is what they need. Love on those who love on you and keep it real. Don't take anything for granted. Peace.